Shakti versus the modern concept of feminism.
Very interestingly, the word used Shakti means the power or
Yeah.
the energy. You know, Shakti doesn't have an exact equivalent in English. Shakti is the kinetic energy. Everything that we see in this universe, perceive or experience, is Shakti, is form of Shakti. All the power that we see in the world is feminine.
I always had this curiosity that most of our gods have a Shakti and they are identified by that Shakti, like Lakshmi Narayan, Radhe Shyam, Siya Ram. The only exception is Shiv-Parvati. Is there any reason for
No, I think it's just this thing because we hear Gauri Shankar, Umapati. I think it's pretty universal.
In that context, what's your thoughts on, in the Vivaha, the wedding ceremony, initially the bride sits on the right side of the groom and halfway through she comes to the left side. And even in the Sat Feras, the first, I think, 3 Feras are led by the groom and the last 4 Feras are led by the bride. Is there any context to that?
So, Devi, you will see, is always sitting on the left side of the Devata. In the temples, in posters, in art, you'll see the Shakti is always on the left side. Why does the bride move from right to left? It's the same logic that.
Hello and welcome. I'm Nivedita Ganapathi, the host of the Vid Veda Vedanta podcast. This podcast is an invitation to explore the many paths that lead to higher knowledge and inner freedom. My guest today is Anuradha Goyal. Anuradha ji is a person of many interests and accomplishments. She is the founder of IndiTales, a leading bilingual travel media portal where she documents her global travels with a focus on ancient India. She studies the intersection of her 3 prime interests: business innovation, travel, and Indic knowledge by writing about them in books, blogs, and columns. She curated India's first Yatra conference aiming to revive the age old traditions of pilgrimage in India. As of now, she's a visiting professor at BHU, Banaras Hindu University, researching the Yatra traditions of India. She has also appeared on leading podcasts in India and is the author of several books such as How to Read Indian Scriptures, Devi Temples of India. She has translated Ayodhya Mahatmya from Skanda Purana, co-editor of Navratri, where Devi comes home with Dr. Vivek Debroy, co-author of India Innovates series for CII, and she's also a columnist with the New Indian Express. I came in contact with Anuradha ji in connection with the article I wrote for the book she co-edited with Vivek Debroy on Navratri, The Devi Comes Home. I noticed the depth of her research on many aspects of Hindu philosophy and mythology. Given her interest in business innovation, Indian scriptures, particularly about the Devi, the divine feminine, Anuradha ji is eminently suited for our discussion today, where we are going to explore how the wisdom of Lalita Sahasranam can be translated into leadership, independence, and agency for the modern woman. The Lalita Sahasranam is 1,000 names of the goddess describing her qualities and attributes. And many people, mostly women, but even men, chant it during the Navratris. Some of them do it without understanding it. And I took a workshop with Anuradha ji and I loved her perspective on it. And so I thought I wanted to bring her onto my podcast and share her wisdom with you. And then there are those who reject it altogether. And I want her to explain and explore with me how powerful these chants, Lalita Sahasranam is. So, welcome, Anuradha ji. And
Namaste.
yes.
Namaste, Nivedita ji, and namaste to all your viewers. I would always look at this conversation as something that started with the conversation on Devi herself when we spoke for the first time for the book, and you beautifully wrote the chapter on Odisha for
Yes.
us. Uh, so we've been connected through Devi, and then every time we've spoken about her. So I'm just invoking Devi that she's present here while we have this conversation about her.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes. So I have thought through, how to tackle, because there's so much, and you took 3 days to explain. Of course, we don't have all the time, so I've sort of broken it up into 5 segments. The first one is I want to discuss the concept of Shakti as it appears in Hindu mythology and philosophy versus the modern concept of feminism. So, in your view, what is the essence of the feminine principle Shakti in the Hindu Dharma? How is the role of a woman different from that of man in Hindu cosmology? And what can the woman learn from Lalita Devi about leadership, sensuality, and wisdom without having to adopt a masculine or adversarial posture? And finally, in this segment, can the Devi's role offer a model of feminine leadership that's different from the modern Western paradigm?
So I'll start with talking about Shakti and how Shakti is defined in all our major thought processes uh, in the Indian knowledge system. Uh, so we believe that the creation of the world happens when the Brahman, as we call it, but you can also think of it as super consciousness,
Yes.
which is undefined, which cannot be defined, which is never born, which will never die, which has no dimensions or parameters that we can put to define it. So you can think of it as infinity. So when that infinity thinks of creating, it divides itself into two, which we call Shiva and Shakti.
Yes.
They are like two halves of a pea, which is covered. So they are like two halves, but they are seen as one outside. And Shiva becomes the latent energy, the source of energy that is needed to create. And Shakti is the kinetic energy, the energy that goes into motion to create. The spandan, the creation starts with something that we call spandan, the um,
Vibration.
first, uh, what do we call in English?
Vibration.
The first vibration through which the creation starts.
Yeah.
So Shakti is the kinetic energy, and Shiva is the passive energy, latent energy, from which this energy is pulled out. Some part, think of it as an infinite source of energy, of which it's like picking up a bucket, a mug full of water from a bucket or an ocean rather, and then using that to create. Now when you need to create, you need to put it in action. You need to keep dividing it, you need to keep using different permutation combinations of different types of material that you create. How do we create today? I see some beautiful paintings behind you. How do you create those paintings? You take 10 different materials and you put them together in some form and shape to create a beautiful object.
Yes.
Now this object could be living, non-living. This is how human beings or how beings are created. So that is the scriptures also define that everything that we see in this universe, we as humans, everything that we can see, perceive, or experience is Shakti, is form of Shakti. Because
Yes.
Shakti is the kinetic energy, she takes multiple forms and she keeps taking infinite forms to create the world that we see. And the cycle goes like she creates, she nurtures it for a period of time, and then she dissolves it back into from where it was created.
Right.
Think of it like a gold ornament. Think of the world as gold. If the whole world was gold, and in fact that is how we perceive it by calling it Hiranyagarbha, the
Hiranya.
golden world, right?
Yes.
So if it was gold, and if you create in your lifetime you create certain jewelry out of it, the way you like it, and then you pass it on to your next generation who don't like who like something else. They dissolve it back into the gold and they take another chunk of gold and create something for themselves. So this cycle of creation, sustenance, and dissolution goes on. A lot of people think it's destruction. It's not destruction, it's dissolution.
Yeah.
We're going back into where we came from.
Yeah.
Right? So this cycle is uh, put in motion or kept in motion by Shakti. That's why we say that, Shakti is the ultimate uh, manifestation of
Yeah.
the superconsciousness. So that's how we see. Now, how does that translate into our lives? In our lives, also, you would see, let's say, how a human being is conceived. The source comes from a man. The woman nurtures it in her womb first, and then outside her womb for a certain period of time, and then lets it be for some time. And at some point in time, that being ends that form of life when we say the person has died. Okay? That's how the cycle goes.
Yeah.
Now, women play a very, very important role in creation, the actual creation.
Yeah.
Now the source can come from anywhere. In creation, in nurturing. That's why you see traditionally all the professions also where nurturing was the key requirement. Women played a very significant role there.
Because it came naturally to them.
It came naturally. Even today, if you'll see that nurturing comes very, very naturally to us.
Yeah.
Then even dissolution, even the act of taking away life is something that is the last part of the spectrum. That's why we divided our Adi Shakti to understand her functions, we divided her into Mahakali, Mahalakshmi, and Mahasaraswati. So Kali is somebody who creates you.
Like Brahma, counterpart.
Yes, yes. And Lakshmi is somebody who sustains, nurtures you.
Yeah.
Saraswati is somebody who intellectually nurtures you. And
Yeah.
Kali is again somebody who will dissolve you. So Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh also have been divided. But there's a beautiful story that comes in Devi Bhagavad Puran. In Devi Bhagavad Puran, there is a Devi Gita.
Yeah.
Again, 700 verses of Devi Gita. And before that, there's a beautiful story comes that there was a Rakshas called Halahal. And that Rakshas was killed by Shiva and Vishnu. Both of them went and they fought for a long period of time and they killed that Rakshasa. And they came back very happy and very, full of ego that we've killed the Rakshasa. So they come back to their wives, Lakshmi and Parvati, and they say, we've killed them. So they say, oh, did you kill them all by yourself? You didn't need us, your Shakti. So the concept is not wife, it's the concept of Shakti.
Yeah.
So did you kill before without us? They said, oh, yeah, yeah, you were not there in the battlefield. I killed them, or we killed them without you. They said, okay. And both of them leave them. And the moment the Shakti leaves them, they become like Shav.
Yeah.
They can't even move. They're just lying around. They're alive, but they're just lying around. They can't do anything. The
Yeah.
whole world stops. The
And
whole world stops, and Brahmaji becomes very, very worried because everything he has to do.
yeah,
He has to now take care of sustenance and dissolution. And because dissolution is not happening, the population is increasing, the whole balance gets lost.
distorted. Yeah.
So that's when Brahmaji goes to the rishis and says, now you sit and pray for the Shakti to come back and play her role. And that's when Lakshmi takes birth from the water, from the sea, and Parvati is born as the daughter of the Himalaya.
And then
And
this story has a counterpart with Adi Shankaracharya, right? Because he used to be so full of, when he talked about Purusha versus Prakriti and gave it a secondary status. And then he went to one of the ghats in Banaras, and then there was this dead body and a old lady covered up crying. And he says, move that shava because I'm going to go to the ghat. And she looked up and said, you say Purusha is everything. Why don't you move it? Why should I move it? Then he realized, he said, you're no ordinary woman, Devi. Forgive me for that mistake that I made. So, yes, very nice story. I
right, right.
related with that.
So, yes. So that's how, and then the Devi Gita is told to Himalaya so that he's prepared to receive Devi as his daughter and he can handle. It's not easy to have a daughter who's as powerful as Parvati.
Yeah.
So the point is that without Shakti, you can't do anything. You need that Shakti in your life. Now, very interestingly, the word used Shakti means the power or
Yeah.
the energy. Shakti doesn't have an exact equivalent in English, but it
Right.
can mean power. It can mean
Energy.
energy. It can mean a lot more. Even power, not just physical power, the willpower,
Yeah.
the Ichha Shakti, the Jnana Shakti, the Kriya Shakti
Yeah.
that we talk about, all of them put together.
Yes.
So now, uh, in the world also, unless you have power, you can't move things. You need different types of powers. That's why Shakti takes different types of forms. In the
Yeah.
very famous stuti that comes from Durga Sapshati, where we say, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samsthita. So you give about 16 or 17 types of Shakti that we need, which
Yes.
include Nidra Rupen,
Yeah.
the sleep, because that's also a power, that's a regenerative power. There is a Ratri Sukta which defines the power of sleep. So Devi Kshudha Rupen, even hunger, till you
Yes.
have hunger for something, you will not achieve anything.
Even illusion,
Siddhi
right?
Rupen, when your contentment, you come in the form of contentment. Come in the form of mother, the physical mother who gives you birth. She comes in the form of all possible things, you
Yeah.
know. Shanti Rupen, peace. A peace that we feel inside is also a power that she bestows on us, or we bestow through on ourselves by knowing her.
Yeah.
Okay, so all the power that we see in the world is
Mm-hmm.
feminine. So
Yeah.
also give you an example from both Mahabharata and Ramayana.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in Valmiki Ramayana, when in Sundarkand, when Hanumanji visits Sitaji,
Mm.
uh, she tells him, she gives him enough fodder to give to Sri Ram so that he will come and fight. Just in case he's thinking of not coming and fighting. I saw glimpses of Draupadi in Sita when she says that, remind Sri Ram that when a mere crow had hurt me, you had took out your astra, a very powerful astra to kill him. Now that this guy has abducted me and I've been in pain for almost a year now, you better come and relieve me of this pain. You better punish the Rakshasa who's given me that pain.
Yeah.
So, without that Shakti, probably there will be no fight, or probably there will be no reason to fight.
Yeah. First of all, there would be no
Same.
reason for creation, and then after the creation, there will be no, the dualities, that thesis,
Yes.
antithesis, and synthesis.
Yes. Yeah, as we call, the Leela of this world goes on because of Shakti. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, the word Lalita itself means Lilyati iti li. Somebody who is playing, for whom this world is a playground, and she's just playing by creating these things without getting indulged in itself. She doesn't get nirlipt, is the word used. She doesn't get engrossed in this, but she is the one who is playing. It's her play.
So we can make a connection with the Ras Leela as well, right? So that Leela,
Yeah.
the whole Jagat is created because of the Leela of that supreme consciousness.
Yes, it's like a cosmic play going on, and we are playing our parts.
Yeah. So before move on, I always had this curiosity that most of our gods have a Shakti, and they are
Mhm.
identified by that Shakti, like Lakshmi Narayan, Radhe Shyam, Siya Ram. For first the Shakti is taken. The only exception is Shiv Parvati, and we say
No, there also we say Umapati.
But it is also common to say Shiv Parvati, whereas Narayan Lakshmi is never common. Ram Sita is, is there any reason for
No, I think it's just this thing because we hear Gauri Shankar, Umapati, so in fact, I would take you to Banaras where the most common thing that is said is Om Namah Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadev.
Yeah.
So it starts with Parvati Pataya.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty universal
I
that
was thinking maybe because,
you acknowledge the Shakti. In fact, I'll give you from a common parlance example. And you come from eastern part of India, you would know this, that till a man is married, he's called Kumar.
yeah,
And the moment he gets married, the Shri is, today we use Shri as Mr., but it's
yeah,
not that. Shri is used when you have a Shri in your life.
yes, yes,
So the word Shri Man means that you have been endowed with, you've been blessed with a Shakti in your life, a Shakti to accompany you throughout this life. That's why you are Shri Man.
yeah, yeah. And in that context, can you, what's your thoughts on, in the Vivaha, the wedding ceremony? Initially, the wife sits on the right side of the groom, not the wife, the bride sits on the right side of the groom, and halfway through, she comes to the left side. And even in the Sat Feras, the first, I think, three Feras are led by the groom, and the last four Feras are led by the bride. Is there any, context to that?
Yeah. So Devi, you will see, is always sitting on the left side of the Devatas. In the temples, in posters, in art, you'll see the Shakti is always on the left side.
Yes.
Okay. She's also called Vama, which essentially means the left side.
And the left being
Even in
connected to the right brain, maybe a
no,
creative,
no, no, no,
no?
don't go there. Don't, don't go there. No. So, if you in the Ardhanarishwara also, you'll see the left side is Devi. That's because that's the side of Devi. That's how the break that's how the division happens. Now, why does the bride move from right to left? It's the same logic that she becomes your Shakti and then she sits on your left. She earns the, I won't say a right, but she, through the act of marriage, she's become your Shakti, so she can occupy your left side.
And she agrees to be
Yes,
his,
yes, yes,
thing.
yes. Of course, I mean, it's assumed that the marriages happen with the agreement of
Yeah,
both parties. That's assumed. I mean, when the ceremony takes place, then
yeah,
it's agreed upon. Now, I had a discussion about this with a very, very renowned Dharma Shastra scholar while I was in BHU. And he told me that the left side in our body, uh, where we store things, if you eat and the energy that we store is also located on the left side.
mm,
So whatever we जो भी हम संग्रहित करते हैं, whatever we collect, we keep it on our left side.
okay.
Okay, so within our body, anatomically. So this also, when you collect a bride from her family, you keep her on your left side to indicate that this is now mine. This is where she belongs from this moment onwards. So, we have to understand that the whole wedding ceremony can also be seen as the movement of the bride, the Shakti, from her father's house to her husband's house, right? So, this movement is what the wedding ceremony is all about,
Yeah. But
right? So, yeah.
in Tirupati, Padmavati, I mean, she's not in the temple, but any picture that you see of Tirupati and Padmavati, she's always on the left side. She never goes to the right.
Yes, she's always on the left because she is his Shakti.
No, no, no. She's sitting on the opposite side. I mean, when we are looking at them in a picture, if you see Tirupati and Padmavati, Padmavati will always be on the, so the mirror image will be on the right side of Tirupati. Have you noticed that?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
So somebody told me, I talked to a very renowned scholar from the south, and he said that mostly the Devis are the manas. That's why they're on the left side. But here, Padmavati is considered the buddhi, because in the south there are some temples that The Devi remains on the right side, doesn't go to the left. It is not automatic, I'm told. Is that your experience in the temples in the south?
Actually, in the south, they actually have two different temples usually. You usually don't see them together in one place,
Right. They have their
right?
own
So
domain.
they have their own domain. In fact, they have their independent temple usually. But if I can recall, most temples, the big ones, they are still on the left.
Is it? Okay.
Now, the mirror image may be placed opposite because then it has to reflect and be on that side. But
Right.
if I can recall all the big temples, they are always on the left.
Okay. Okay.
Any particular temple possible, it's not there. So, for example,
My only
I don't
experience I saw
recall, but
was
Kanyakumari, where she's waiting, she's not yet married, she's waiting for him, could be that she is on right, or maybe there is no Shiva temple there. I don't
okay.
recall it right now.
Okay. Okay.
But the concept is this, that whatever you collect in your body also gets stored on the left hand side. Granthi is the word he used. And that's how, when you collect the bride from the father and you include her in your clan, that's where she belongs. And
Yeah.
the Shakti has been repeatedly called Vama.
Yeah. So this, when you say when she comes from the father's house to the husband's house, this creates a lot of triggers a lot of people in the modern world who are, into feminine power and feminism, and they said we don't have to give up our father's, our identity with the father, and we are not sent anywhere. So, what are your thoughts on that?
So, very interestingly, throughout our scriptures, and I haven't found an exception, I have never seen, let's say, Sita being called Mrs. Raghuvanshi, Mrs. Ramachandra.
Yeah.
Nowhere. She continues to be called Janak Sutta, Janaki, Vaidehi, Maithili,
Yes.
Draupadi. The name itself comes from her father,
Drupad. Yeah.
or Panchali, if it comes from there. She's never called Mrs. Pandava.
Yeah.
So at max, there's a Priya ad. So Ram Priya, Arjun Priya. That's all.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
only means that you're dear to them.
Yeah.
You always known. So women in our scriptures, and if you recall, if you can go back till your grandparents or great grandparents, you will see that women are always known by either by their father's name or by the land they come from,
Mm.
because they did travel across lands. So they are known by the land they came from. In North India, even today, you how do you identify, let's say, your Mausis, your Buas? You'll say, Kanpur wali Mausi, Delhi wali Bua. You still identify women with them. You never do that to men.
Yeah. So when did this happen that we started becoming adopting the
Let me
husband's
finish,
last name?
Nivedita ji. Let me finish this. This Mrs. So and so, at least in India, it came from British. It was never the case. In fact, women never used a surname. The name they used was Devi, Rani, Kumari. Kumari till they were get married. After they were married, either they were called Devi or they were called Rani automatically. So they would write, like, if I have to write my name, they'll write Anuradha Rani or Anuradha Devi. In certain parts of Maharashtra, they will they will put Bai with them, or some kind of a very respectful word would be added to you.
What does Bai mean?
Bai also means a very respectful word.
Okay. Okay.
It's a
Okay.
very, like Ahilya Bai,
Yes. Yes.
Ahilya Bai Holkar. So
Yeah.
Jija Bai,
Yeah.
you know. So Bai is again a very, very respectful. It's a I. It's
Like a
a,
mother.
it's like a mother, but it's a very, very respectful word that is used. In certain parts of India, it's not so respectfully used now,
Yeah.
but traditionally, it's a very, very respectful word. So you will use these words. We actually didn't have the concept of writing our surnames at all. Nobody wrote surnames. The gotras is what we used only for purpose of marriage, because we had the system that you don't marry in certain gotras and you marry in certain gotras. So that is where it was used. Apart from that, it was not used.
And so, when did this practice come into being? Because it goes back a long ways now to adopt after marriage, take on your husband's last name.
No, that's pretty British. In India, it came with colonialism,
Even in the
and
South, yeah.
probably it became more prevalent post independence
Mm,
when in the forms you have to fill in your surname.
yeah,
When you made it mandatory to fill in your surname.
got it.
Uh, you not so like my grandmothers. I'm sure you'll remember your grandmother never used any surname.
No,
It was
Devi.
just their names.
Yeah, we would just use the word Devi.
Name.
Yeah,
Yeah, and Devi, Rani, these were optional. So I could use if one thing, you could use another thing. The name. So we are not very stuck on that. This is my name.
yeah.
Our Devis have 1,000 names. I can have 100 names.
And also, so this one I know maybe with the colonialism it came. Also, you know, this I would say it's a misconception because a lot of people, this put, thinking that you need to have a son to be able to go to Swarga. And what I was explained by my father is Putrarthe kriyate bharya. Putra is not necessarily son, it's your progeny, and you need that. You need a wife to create a safe and nurturing environment to give birth to and raise the next generation of humans. So, if what at least in Orissa, it is believed that if you give five daughters in marriage, you go to moksha. So if a son could take you to swarga, a daughter could take you to give you moksha, right? But somewhere it got distorted and went to a feminine infanticide because of this misconception that you need a son to be able to go to last rites and go to heaven. What's your
Right.
research tells you?
So my grandmother, my dadi in Punjab used to say, "वो ही नार सुलक्षणी जो पहले जाए लक्ष्मी." So the sign of a Sulakshini Nari is that she first gives birth to a daughter.
Yeah, yeah,
That is, then these are uh, lokoktiya or folk sayings.
yeah,
But in the Shastra, like you very rightly said, you need both sons and daughters. And
yeah,
this was not an era of having just one child or two children. So a, a son would take care of you, would inherit whatever you have, mostly, and will take care of you in your old age because daughters will go away. In a typical setup, they'll get married, they'll go away to a far off place, and they'll just come back to you as visitor, as guests. But Kanyadan uh, is supposed to be the biggest dan you can give. And rightly said, it can give you moksha.
yeah.
It takes you closer to moksha. So both son and daughters had a different role and
Role.
a different standing in your place. It's not
Yeah.
one versus the other. So when you read selectively or when you see selective practices and you have a lens through which you must see things, then these things happen.
Yeah. So, but if you would speak to, so many women, today's women they get a breakout into a rash. They said, no, we are not objects to be given away. But that was never the intention when the Kanya Dan, because the Hindu Vedantic philosophy, the ultimate growth for a human being is the concept of yajna, that which is your best, if you can are able to give to somebody else, that is what earns you a that it makes you the fullest human being you can be. In fact, the Mahabharata, I'm told, is actually called Jaya. Mahabharata we call it, but it's known as Jaya, which if you flip it is Yaja, which is Yajna. The whole Mahabharata is about a Yajna. Whatever you want, what are you willing to? What is the best that you have? It's not that you pick up the least, and that was the whole Kathopanishad, that concept.
Yes.
So, but today's
Um,
women are taking a lot of offense at being called that we are not objects to be gifted away.
Right. So the problem is that we think dana is charity.
Yeah.
So dana is not charity. Dana is something that you give. We say a doctor gives jivan dan.
Yeah.
We say a guru gives vidya dan.
Yeah.
Even when we elect our government, we do matdan.
Yeah.
Opinion. I'm just donating my opinion
Yeah.
that this is the person fit enough to lead me. Okay. So, dan is something which, I mean, there is ample literature we have on dan. What should be given, what should not be given. Who should it be given to, when should it be given to, and even what should not be given or who should not be given. We have so much literature on it. And one of the things that you give is Gaudan. I mean, the common things that are donated, I'll tell you, are Bhumi Dan, land donation, Gaudan, the cow. I mean, one of the biggest danas, because when you give a family a cow, you are giving them food, you are giving them an opportunity to of employment, self-employment, you are giving them aushadhi, you giving them a being to take care of, you're giving them a complete package. Okay. You give vidya dan, which enables you to do everything. So dan is not charity.
Annadan also. Yeah.
Annadan. Annadan, you can still think of it as charity because it's a smaller thing. It's easy to give away. You can
It
give
can
food
be,
to
yeah,
someone.
returned. Whereas the
Jaldan. I
Vidyadan,
mean, Annadan, Jaldan. So making step wells, digging canals, all these are the forms of Jaladan, where you are enabling people to have access to water. So in that, Kanyadan, and also there is one interpretation that lot of scholars now give, that it's Gotradan, because the Kanya's Gotra is changed. You move from your father's Gotra to your husband's Gotra. So it becomes a Gotradan. So you've given away your Gotra. Okay.
okay.
And also I look at it as a movement from one family to another. You become, you also have to see that women, they say they are like the bonds horizontally and vertically who connect families.
Yes.
So horizontally you connect your father's and your husband's family,
Yeah.
vertically you connect generations, you connect your husband to your children,
Yeah. Yeah.
husband's family to their next generation. You are the bond.
And
So
they,
there is a transfer that happens. There is a movement that happens, which is going to create a whole new generation.
yeah.
You know, so don't get stuck on one word, even if you don't like it, even if you don't understand it. Understand the idea behind it.
Yes. And also the concept that in ancient India, well before this concept of love marriage and what have you, Swayamvar, the women were given the right to choose, and then later we'll go into Savitri. I mean, what powerful choices they have made. And, that,
Yeah. So it was actually Swayamvars. You have to understand the Varanashram system in India.
yeah,
Everything fits in there. So typically, Kshatriyas had these options where they could do Rakshas Vivaha, they could do Gandharva Vivaha, they could do Swayamvar, where there was, and Swayamvar used to be again of multiple types. One is simply the girl goes and chooses who she likes. Second used to be like Sita's, where there was a condition, they were conditional, that if you can break this, if you can lift this bow, you can get married, or in Draupadi Swayamvar, if you can pierce the eye of a. And these typically, if you deep dive into, they were meant to reach a particular person. It's like putting a matrimonial ad that fits exactly the person you want to marry,
yeah,
while not ruling out others, or giving an exit option to every other contender.
yes,
Okay. So that is, in my opinion, they were mostly followed by Kshatriyas, and they had to show their valor. It was also a way for them to establish their authority,
and
their
alliances as well, right?
yeah. So, and also they got married across the geography.
Yeah.
Kshatriyas, one royal family would get married into another royal family. Even today, I guess the royal families of India, they continue to marry within the royal family
Yeah.
circle.
It's a strategic alliance as well.
Yes, they were strategic also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for the rest of the people, it used to be a simple, usually mostly used to be simply arranged marriages. Even in business families, you would see they were strategic. They were both strategic and they were both arranged, so to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
So,
uh, so uh, uh, but women did not have a choice. I don't think it was ever the case. However, because women used to get married young so that they can produce, so that they are married during their reproductive years. Uh, I think the wisdom or the agency that they had or they did not have because of their age must have made the parents play a bigger role,
right. Right.
right? Because you have to be at least in your 20s to make that choice that I want to, or you have to be exposed to as many potential people to get married
Right.
to choose on your own.
Got it. Got it. So to move on, I want to hear from you the concept of this, this sovereignty of Lalita Dev, because she is the playful one, the beautiful one, the powerful one. In a patriarchal society, how can we, what lessons can we take from ancient texts like the Lalita Sahasranam and stories that can support women, excuse me, navigating power structures today, like in families, politics, and leadership?
Okay, so Lalita Devi was um, created, or she took the form of Lalita to kill a Rakshasa called Bhandasur. Now, there's a long story which I will skip for now, but to kill Bhandasur, he was invincible. No devatas could kill him. So that's why devatas did a yagya out of which Lalita Devi was born, and she was given the Shakti and the ayudhas of all the devatas to fight Bhandasur. Now, Lalita Devi has an army of women. We call them yoginis. She has two primary ministers or commanders called Mantrini and Dandini. And these two command, and between the three of them, they have these huge chakras called Shri Chakra, Ge Chakra, and Kiri Chakra. So they have these three chakras on which they lead the army. And then there are these yoginis, thousands and thousands and thousands of yoginis who fight the army. Now, in fact, I just tweeted it during the recent India-Pakistan war that one of the first thing which I think our army did beautifully was the concept of Jwala Malini. You know, so one night the Bhandasur's army attacks Devi's army. Now Devi steps in and controls the situation, but she tells her army, her own army, that whenever we are out to fight, our first responsibility is to create a ring of fire. Jwala Malini literally means a ring of fire around our own camp, so that the enemy cannot harm us. And then you plan your strategy and fight an attack. Till you form till you protect yourself fiercely, you will never be able to. Even in Ramayana, when Ravan steps out of Lanka to fight, he tells his key men that you protect Lanka, because if they enter the city of Lanka, then it'll be very difficult to control things. So you make sure that nobody enters the city of Lanka while I step out to fight. So I think that's a very important lesson, that you have to protect yourself first before you go step out and do anything, especially in a situation where you're fighting any kind of fight. It could be a professional fight, it could be a fight against a disease, it can be a fight against a corruption, it can be a fight against anything I mean, we have a million fights that we fight every day, injustice, whatever. So that's one lesson. Second, you should always have your own team. And I think we as women need lot of other women in our team, lot of other women in our team. It could be a team of people who help us at home, house help. It could be a team at work that helps you. It can be a team that lets you relax, gives you that opportunity to just unwind and relax. It could be a team which helps you push the boundaries of whatever you are doing, inspire you, mentor you, or be mentored by you. So we need a lot of these things. And I think in the professional world, um, that is something that women have not really done. That, like, all the men have these men's clubs and old boys clubs, and they uh, how they help each other, how they reach out to each other, help each other. I think you are on mute, Nivedita ji.
Sorry. Yeah, I was saying, in fact, very correctly that when women complain about loss of opportunities or recognition at workplace or even at home, and they blame patriarchy, but this is actually the real reason. It's not that the patriarchy is against you. Your own club and core group is not there. The women are not supporting the women. It's not that the men are not supporting the women. They have no reason to. But if we don't support each other, then that's what causes more problem.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? Right.
So we have to create that, I would say, the network of sisterhood,
Yes.
where you support each other, where you step in for each other. And I think men do it beautifully. This is something that we need to learn from them.
Yes. And
And
also,
even in the domain that typically women managed, which is the home, you know they had their network. They
yeah.
stepped in for each other. You would remember that in our childhood, when our mothers visited their maternal homes, some neighborhood auntie would just step in and give you food and take care of you. It was their network.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Or they would have somebody who'll make pickle and give, who'll make this and give. And they will just have a network.
Yeah.
Now
And
we are
even
in a
the,
transition stage where we are not dealing with home as much, and we are dealing with a lot of so-called professional world. So we have to create that network, and we have to maybe begin by supporting some women
yeah.
around you.
So another thing is we see today's women who feel compelled to get into the workplace or leadership roles where they think that they have to imitate the men. I mean, wear those clothes and that language to be accepted and to make a difference. Whereas, when we look at Durga Devi or Lalita, Tripura Sundari, they have this inner ferocity and grace to lead, but without becoming hardened or depleted. Durga Devi always has a smile on her face. She's not looking angry, upset when she's fighting. So how to help women uh, inculcate or cultivate that inside them, that you can fight on your own terms, not that you have to become, wear somebody else's clothes, or talk like them or behave like them, or because men have a certain persona, a certain emotional makeup, and we don't have to be that to lead.
So I would say you have to be comfortable in your own skin, first of all. You have to be comfortable being a woman, and you have to accept that I'm a woman, and it comes with certain limitations and certain advantages, uh, equal pros and cons, and I have to play to my pros. You know. In
Yeah.
fact, one of the biggest changes I have seen in women who start reading and understanding this text, including myself, is that you start being more feminine,
That.
whether in your the way you dress up, the way you speak, the way your whole personality is. It becomes a lot more feminine, and that doesn't mean being weak in any way, but you become delicate. You
Yeah.
become more graceful, elegant, uh, and that has a lot of power. By the way, that
Yes.
has a lot of power.
In fact, I was going to
Uh,
ask you, how can women invoke these thousand names not just ritually, but as a living daily practice. You know, and you just answered that, but you've seen other women who start chanting it with the understanding, or just chanting makes them do that.
So just chanting will also have some effect, but if you understand it, then it starts becoming a part of you. So,
Your
like I
narrative.
always say, the deity you worship, you start becoming like them.
Yes, exactly.
So, if you, but you have to understand who are they,
Yes.
to that. So you would see that in Lalita Sahasranam, it has 182.5 verses. So in the first 20 verses, just the physical description of Devi, a very beautiful physical description. What is she wearing from head to toe? You know. So at some point in time, that will come into you. You will start dressing up like that.
Yes.
In fact, and all our deities, not just Devi, all our deities
Yeah.
are very well dressed up, beautifully adorned. Even Hanumanji, whom we think of, this brahmachari and this, one of the initial verses of Hanuman Chalisa says, कानन कुंडल कुंचित केशा हाथ वज्र और ध्वजा विराजे then the कांधे मूंज जनेयू साजे then Suvesh. It talks
Yeah.
about
Kanchana
Suvesh.
Varana. Yeah.
Huh. You know, so Suvesh means beautifully, your Vesha, your outlook is beautiful.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You don't step out, like that typical activist jhola wala, unkempt, because that energy then attracts that energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The energy that you exude, one, you are adding that energy to the world, and second, that energy comes back to you.
Yeah. So,
That's why people dress up well in during weddings. They, because that's the energy you want to replicate, multiply. That's
yes.
why people dress up very, very soberly when somebody passes away, because that's not the energy you want to multiply.
Yeah. So I also want to touch upon, I know, we don't have a lot of time, but it's very interesting, but I want to definitely touch upon this, that modern women have rejected the baby with the bathwater and doing none of the rituals, whether it is Savitri Vrat, whether it is Karwa Chauth, whether it is Raksha Bandhan. So it's basically kind of ritual versus rebellion. And, but I have done research and experimented in my workshops and all. When you do a ritual without understanding, it can feel very restrictive, very limiting. But once you understand what you're doing, it can be very empowering and liberating. So, completely disassociating or rejecting vrats and ritual practices, I mean, what is your take on that?
I think you reject your vratas and then you do intermittent fasting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I would say, I think it's the lack of experience. Because I always tell people who ask me whether they should do it, I always say try it for some time. If it works for you, carry on. If it doesn't work for you, let it go.
Yes. Do
Very
it
simple.
in mind.
You give your anubhuti. Even our shastra says that your anubhuti, what you feel, is more important than what the shastra says, because that's somebody else's experience and knowledge talking.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I always tell young people that when you question, why should I fast or why should I do this ritual, you should also question, why has it survived for thousands of years? Why has this ritual survived for so many generations? Why has it survived? There must be something in it. I may not understand it, but there must be something in it because of which it is surviving.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you start looking at it from that angle, there are a lot of things that you don't have to understand. Honestly, today, when the doctor gives us medicine, do we really understand that? We just trust the doctor. So
Yes.
you are saying, let's not trust the generational knowledge that has come to us from our ancestors, but let's trust something that, just because somebody has a degree, let me trust that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually you're putting your trust somewhere, and again, if a medicine works for you, you continue. If it doesn't work for you, you move to another doctor.
Try something.
So something like that, you have to question that if something has survived from, like, thousands of years through so many generations, there must be some reason behind it.
Yes. In
You know, if your if your grandmother says don't eat curd in the evening, there must be a reason why she's saying. She
yeah,
doesn't want to deny you curd. All she's saying, don't eat in the evening. It's traditional wisdom,
the kapha element. So this
right?
my favorite story and is about Savitri Vrat, because here is a woman in full power, Shakti, her awareness, her strategic mastery of negotiation, where she calmly shaped her fate, has degenerated into becoming reduced to fasting for a husband. What I tell people is, if you develop the ability to overcome death, now whether you choose to save your husband, your child, or your dog, it doesn't matter, but you have the power. Why would you want my husband should also fast? Why would you want to give that power to somebody you don't even know if they will come to save you? Instead,
Hmm.
this vrata, I mean, I see it as a power, just like Raksha Bandhan. We don't need to be protected by the brother or the masculine figure. And my response to that is, just look at the mechanics of it. When somebody gives you a gift, it's because they have received something from you. So you are not being protected, you are the protection. So if the men were protecting you, why would they be giving you the gift? You should be giving them the gift. The very fact that they're giving you a gift, in my opinion, is they recognize that your ability to do vrat and spiritually protect your family, whether a mother doing it for a son, a sister doing it for a brother, or a wife doing it for a husband, we are capable, eligible, and have done it. So it is a thank you from them rather than protecting you. What's your thought?
You have to, yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, what you say. And also, you have to understand, this, why do I need to do it for husband? I want to answer this question. So, we have this word called Saubhagyavati, which means Sau is just good and Bhagya is the fortune. The It can again have many connotations. The anything good in your life is your Bhagya. Now, the Ashirvad that people give is Saubhagyavati Bhava. May you be Saubhagyavati. Now, one of the key things, now let's look at any human being or a woman particularly. What do you need? What do you need to be happy in life, or to be happy, fulfilled, content in life? You do need your partner to be happy, to be there. First of all, he should be there. Then he should be happy, healthy, uh, in a position to take care of you, right? So the having a husband, having a healthy husband who can take care of you is a part of your saubhagya. It's a definition of your saubhagya. Of course, then it leads to that you'll have children, you'll have children who'll take care of you in the later part of your life. So you have to understand, can you imagine your happiness without your partner? So if you acknowledge that fact, then you will happily do those fasts. Then they happily do anything that can make him available to you, the make him be a part of you. It's not, I mean, if you look at marriage as a contract, then doesn't matter. I mean, then you can just say, you get into this, I do this, you do this, you have a mathematical division of everything. But if you look at a spiritual entanglement of the souls who are going to spend this one life together at least, then you want a happiness overall. Whereas if you look at the definition of bhag, which is the root word for bhagwan, it has 6 elements. Okay, so to have those 6 elements, and if you are married, if you've chosen to be married, then your partner is equally responsible. Can you be happy if your partner is not happy? Anyway, a simple question.
But
If he's not,
the women, the more
so
that
yeah.
we men's platform as well. We are working, we are doing everything. So our health is and well-being is just as important, because if something happens to us, that impacts the family unit as well. So but to that, my answer is who
So
is.
my answer is that physically fasting is good for your health anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and also, like you said in the beginning, the nurturing, who is better at what? So the nurturing aspect comes naturally to women. So working off of your strength, rather than, making somebody do something that they are not good at.
Also, I think practically speaking, in a traditional setup, men went out every day, women did not. So doing fast for women was easier than for men.
Yeah. But that is a traditional setting. But right now, today's world is
No,
different.
even in biological setting and Ayurveda, people will tell you a woman's body needs more fasting than a man's body.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So they will tell you that fasts work much better on a woman's body than a man's body.
Ritualistic cleansing and purification, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely uh, on a medical ground that the fasts work much better for a woman's body
Okay.
because obviously our cycles are different. Our anatomy is different.
So we are at the end of the hour, and I really, I enjoyed our conversation, but I didn't get to Lalita Tripura Sundari, and we will have to do another podcast on this. But I want a parting observation or comment from you. What would it like for the modern woman to walk into a boardroom, a courtroom, or a classroom when she is in complete alignment with this energy, with this concept of Lalita Tripura Sundari? How would she arrive? What something that we can, to understand that I want to be her. This is how she would be in the boardroom. This is how she would be in the courtroom, meaning there is an adversarial situation. One is a wealth creation, and the other is a classroom in a teaching environment.
So you've actually put situations where one needs to be Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga. So if you are teaching, you are a Saraswati, so you have to remember, you have to probably study a bit of Saraswati Swarupa. If you are a corporate executive, let's say a marketing head of a company, then you are typically literally playing the Lakshmi Swarupa for your organization. And if you are a lawyer fighting an adversary, you are typically taking a Durga Swarup, a mini Durga Swarup every day. So these are the three basic archetypes in which women operate.
Yeah.
And when I speak to a lot of young college going women, I always say that most of the times we are okay being Lakshmi and Saraswati, but there will be times in life where you will need to invoke the Durga within you, and don't
Yes.
shy away. And there will be rarest of rare times where you will have to invoke the Kali in you.
Yeah.
Don't shy away from that, but just remember that it's temporal. It's not, you don't have to stay in that mode forever. So a
Yes.
lot of these rebels, a lot of these activists, they continuously stay in that form, and those forms take a lot of energy.
Yeah.
The energy spent is a lot in those forms, so
Yes.
you
Yes.
can't handle, so you that's why those people look very drained all the time.
Get depleted and hardened, because it's a battle weariness.
Yes. So I'm not saying that don't fight battles, but take that Swarup of Durga or Kali only for that period of time and come back into your normal Lakshmi Saraswati Swarup.
And I know, I'm getting greedy here, but since I wanted to talk a little bit about the Lalita Sahasranam, can you give me a very top level view on. I know a lot of the people who'll be watching this, they chant Lalita Sahasranam, the breakdown of the Sahasranam, because you did it so beautifully in your workshop that, the first so many verses talk about her physical form, and just a quick breakdown, so that when they are studying it, then they will know that these are the different things that they are actually chanting about.
So it starts with the gross form of Devi, which is her physical form. Then it goes on to talk about her acts, which is the killing of Bhandasur, creation of the 10 avatars of Vishnu, creation of Ganesh. She talks about that. And then it goes into the subtle forms and then the subtlest form. The subtle form is her three forms, which is called Shakti Kutek, Madhya Kut, Vagbha Kut, the three parts. And then it goes on to the Kundalini, how the Kundalini is, how the six chakras are, and how which are the Devis, which are the yoginis, which are in different chakras. And then it goes on to describe her subtlest forms. It goes on to describe um, her Brahman form where she cannot be defined. Some of my favorite verses are Nirmala. She's called Nirmala. She's called Lobhanashini, Mohanashini. Nirmama Mamata Hantri. She's without any mamata and she kills the mamatva in you, mine and not mine. So it goes on to that, and finally it comes towards the end or in the last verse. She's defined as Shiva Shakti Yukteka Shakti Yuktaika Lalitambika. So she is the Lalita Amba, who is the combined form of Shiva and Shakti.
Beautiful.
It starts with Shri Mata, she as the mother, and it ends with Shri Lalita Ambika. So what is Lalita Ambika? She's the combined form of Shiva and Shakti. When they are combined together, that's when she's Lalita Amba.
Kundalini has risen and united with the latent
Yes.
energy.
Yes, and that's when the Amrit Varsha happens. That's when you have this, when you touch your Anandamayi Kosh.
Right, right. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I know you are extremely busy, and thank you so much for this, for your time. And we will have to absolutely have another podcast where we can go delve deeper into your knowledge of the Devi Mahatmyam and, Lalita Tripura Sundari. So thank you, Anuradha ji. I am so, grateful that we could find this time and had this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, and may you and your viewers always have the blessings of Devi.
Thank you. Devi's blessings to you too.